Last week, it was announced that LANDR is acquiring Reason Studios. I don't really know how I feel about it. To be honest, I am not surprised. A lot of people in the Reason community have not been loving the direction Reason has been going in recent years. And I don't know if LANDR is going to change that or not. I was messaging one of my friends about it, and he said he thinks LANDR is a terrible company. He doesn't like their AI products or think their AI mastering suite is any good. And he's afraid they're going to crowbar AI products into Reason and mess around with their core product. I've been flip-flopping on whether I think it's a bad idea or a good idea. This last year, I've been feeling extremely frustrated with Reason. I figure it can't get any worse. Hopefully, it'll get better. Let's have a look at the press releases, and then I'll share a couple more of my thoughts. So this was LANDR's press release that got released first. Our vision is to make Reason and the Reason Rack indispensable tools for every music producer, regardless of what DAW they use. Wherever music is made, Reason will be there with amazing instruments, effects, and analog workflow, enhanced by LANDR's value-rich creator tools. This part here concerns me because creator tools are only good if they're like actually good. From what I understand, LANDR has samples and stuff as well as some of their AI things. I guess it can only get better, right? The AI mastering tools. What I don't want is to have software bring in a whole bunch of AI stuff that's just not good enough to actually be useful for serious use cases. But one thing I've always wanted is for Reason to be indispensable for every producer, regardless of what DAW they use. I really love the idea of the Reason Rack plugin. I think the implementation of the Reason Rack plugin has been very bad. And I'll show you a couple of things later that have... I didn't even bother testing out Reason's latest effect because it just was not usable in the Reason Rack plugin. I will show you that in a sec. While joining forces under one roof, Reason Studios will continue to operate as its own brand, maintaining its products, community, and creative DNA. Reason remains the DAW producers know and love, now supported by the broader LANDR ecosystem to unlock new possibilities for creators everywhere. What I hope is the best case scenario here is that Reason continues to still be Reason. Reason continues to make dope products, but what I really hope is that this is going to give Reason the infrastructure or the resources to actually make their products dope. Because the Reason Rack plugin, while I think is a fantastic idea, I find has a ton of limitations that make me draw on it far less these days. I'd love it to be a go-to again. Hopefully, best case scenario, this is what LANDR does. Helps Reason Studios actually realize what it is that they've been trying to do all along, and it ends up being awesome. That's what I'm really hoping for. This isn't about changing Reason, it's about giving it room to grow. They're starting a new artist council made up of well-known producers and long-time users of Reason. See, this gives me hope, because if they're actually listening to what people in the community want and are actually doing things that make those things happen, then this could be really great. I think everybody in the Reason community was sad to see Ryan leave because his videos were fantastic. And I really hope Mateus doesn't leave, but I think it could go well. I hope it goes well. It's funny, I have always tried to be optimistic about what I want Reason to do because I do think it's a great tool and I love it. And all of my criticisms have come from a place of I want it to be better because I love it. But this last year, I found myself using it less. I started getting more and more pissed off at things that they were doing. And I was pretty much ready to pull the plug and be like, you know what, I'm not bothered with Reason anymore. Then I see this announcement, and now I'm optimistic again. Cautiously optimistic. There's a few things I think they're going to have to tighten up for me to want to use Reason again heavily, but cautiously optimistic. We're committed to keeping the Reason DAW and Rack you know and love here to stay. Rest assured there will be no immediate changes to customer accounts, license pricing, and support. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the subscription model and are concerned that LANDR is going to implement a heavy subscription model. I don't really mind the subscription model, but like if you're going to deliver a subscription model, you have to deliver value and it has to work. And the problem I have had with Reason recently is it just hasn't been working. Few things to expect in the future. More ways to access the Reason rack for non-Reason DAW users. This is interesting. More ways to access the Reason rack for non-Reason DAW users. We've already got the Reason rack plugin. Does this mean that we will be getting Reason devices as standalone VSTs? That would be interesting. I would be very keen on that because there are a lot of devices that I really like in Reason that I want to be able to use as standalone VSTs without necessarily putting it inside the Reason rack. That would be a very, very interesting value proposition. New integrations between LANDR and Reason products. I don't have any opinions on that. If the LANDR stuff ends up being really good, then that could be cool. Increased levels of customer support and R&D. Hopefully, this is what will allow us to, have products that actually work. Together, we believe LANDR and Reason can build a stronger and more unified creator ecosystem that empowers producers and artists to create, master, and release their best music. Unified creator ecosystem is a cool buzzword, but it actually has to work well as a unified creator ecosystem. I don't think people care about having endless stuff if it doesn't function well. If everything functions really well, then awesome. You have heaps of tools that you can use, but stuff for the sake of stuff is not useful. That's where you get option paralysis from. We're lucky to have a passionate community of artists with great ideas about where Reason can go and how it could be better. I feel like this is hugely ironic because people have been going on for a very long time about great ideas about where Reason can go and how it could be better. Most of my channel for the last forever has been my ideas on where Reason could go and how it could be better. So when they say we're lucky to have a passionate community of artists with great ideas about where Reason can go and how it could be better, I don't really believe them. To guide Reason's continued evolution, LANDR and Reason Studios are establishing an artist council made up of well-known producers and long-time users of Reason. If this artist council is actually something that helps shape the direction of Reason in a meaningful way, then this is awesome. If it's just token, then whatever. But it says they will be instrumental in shaping the future of the platform so that it works for both new and existing users alike. I don't really believe that Reason cares about listening to its community or taking action on any of the suggestions that the community has. However, given the new partnership with LANDR, or LANDR acquiring Reason Studios, I would like to think that maybe this is something that could change for the better. This council will ensure that Reason's roadmap remains deeply connected to the real-world needs and ambitions of today's creators, advising on product innovations, creative tools, and workflows. Well, those of us who have followed Reason's release schedule for years all know how well Reason's ability to make and stick to a roadmap has been. So that's, that's interesting. Reason's roadmap remains deeply connected to the real-world needs and ambitions of today's creators. Again, that feels heavily ironic because most of the things that users have been complaining about are tools that other DAWs just have and are kind of expected at this point. So does that mean we're going to be getting things that a lot of us have been asking for? Hopefully. There's a lot to be excited about. Both companies share a clear mission to make music creation more accessible, inspiring, and enjoyable for everyone. Does that mean that they're structuring their software in such a way to make it accessible and inspiring and enjoyable for everyone, as in the masses who might be discovering music production for the first time? Because that's good. We like people discovering music production and getting into the community. However, if it's watered down so that serious users are having trouble doing things or not getting tools that they want, then that gets a little annoying. It has to be that balance, I think. We're thrilled about what we can build together. Cautiously excited. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I've been reading comments on different forums and stuff all week and have been flip-flopping between whether or not I think it's a good idea or whether or not I think this is the end of Reason. We'll wait and see, I guess. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let me bring a couple of issues to attention again, and this is what I need Reason to fix. If Reason doesn't fix this, then it's essentially still useless, in my opinion. Okay, here we have the Reason Rack plugin. One thing that I've been going on forever about since they released it is the fact that Mimic doesn't play nice. Oh, look, Mimic is still not playing nice. Whenever I install Mimic, look at what it does to my CPU meter. It just starts spiking it periodically. By the way, it doesn't do this in the Reason standalone. It's only inside the Ableton plugin. Not useful at all. Like, it's actually not usable at all. And then Reason just released the Osmium Distortion Matrix, which I was actually super, super excited to check out because I love Scream 4 and I'm a big fan of distortion effects anyway. So the Osmium Distortion Matrix, this looked great. I was gonna make a video about it. I pulled it up, went to use it, and I was like, I can't use it because there is a tremendous amount of lag clicking on any of these things. Let me pull up a patch. Okay, we've got a patch here. Again, when I tried it inside the standalone Reason, no lag, but doing it here, okay, that's cool. I can move knobs, I can click, that's fine. But did you see that? Let me click. What? Click. Click. Like, are you kidding me? I didn't make a video about it. I haven't even properly tried it out because I can't be waiting several seconds between clicking on every single. Why is this so poorly implemented inside the Reason Rack plugin? This is what I need Reason to fix. I love Reason devices. I love the way they think about things. But you can't be implementing products that just don't work well. Let's try it in Logic. Okay, we are in Logic. Let's see if Mimic. I I don't know how to tell whether this is messing up the CPU. Seems to be working okay though. Let's try this Osmium Distortion Matrix. Let's something with lots of. Okay, that's working fine. Is it just the case that the Reason Rack plugin doesn't play nice in Ableton? I feel like there's no reason why it shouldn't. Ableton's obviously one of the biggest DAWs out. Yeah, like I'm not gonna switch my main DAW just to use the Reason Rack plugin. Why, Reason Studios? Why can you just not make stuff work inside Ableton, please? So yeah, again, cautiously optimistic about LANDR acquiring Reason Studios. I would love to be able to use certain Reason devices as VST devices, and I would love if they actually sort out the Reason Rack plugin, because I want to use Reason. I feel like the last couple of years has been a constant cycle of optimism as Reason releases something new and does something, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and then that turns into disappointment when it is poorly implemented or just doesn't work very well inside Ableton. And then, of course, the lackluster updates in Reason 13 and all of that kind of stuff. So, cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that LANDR allows Reason Studios to have the resources to add things that people actually want and have been asking for into Reason as a standalone piece of software. I think it would be really, really great if they released a bunch of Reason's devices as VST plugins. And if they fix the Reason Rack plugin so that I can actually use devices inside Ableton and maybe recode it or change it so that you can use external MIDI or drag stuff out or put a Reason device inside a Reason device. There's a whole lot of things that I've talked about in other videos that I think would be really cool if it could do. If this LANDR partnership or LANDR buying Reason Studios allows for these things to happen, then I'm going to be so stoked and will start using Reason way more than I have been. But if it doesn't, nah, this could be the end of Reason. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want it to be, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm back. This channel has been very much a low priority for me over recent years as I've been focusing on other projects. But this year I have decided that I want to do at least 2 videos a month. So that's going to be the goal. I want to start making more music just for the fun of it and playing around with a bunch of things like this OP1 that I got and this KO2 that I got. I went shopping at Teenage Engineering and bought a bunch of things. So I want to play around with that stuff. I want to make some more music. I want to explore some AI music making tools. And I'm going to start making 2 videos a month in order to make myself do all of that. So stick around if you want to see what I get up to with all of that. And yeah, let's all be watching what's happening with this LANDR Studios thing. Let me know in the comments what you think about the whole acquisition. Very curious to see what people have to say. And yeah, I will see you in a week or two when I make my second video of the month.